Big up for coming through each and every time. Big up to Lumi, as always. And big up to Ad Hit the Call 788 from India. Big up, man, for coming through. Um, Guys, yeah, listen. Voice is starting to feel a little bit better now, Obviously, still not 100%, but listen, yeah, content coming out as always. And as I said, appreciate you guys coming through each and every time. So Lumi says, can we give Madueke's flowers? I doubted when we signed, but now we have Chelsea fans crying that we have him. Also, shout out to Pakistan cricket fan for telling us all along about this generational gem. Yeah, listen, Lumi, it's not going to work on here, man. It's not going to work on here. And the day, if you think Madueke's, is the answer to your problems, then listen, you guys have got a long way to go. But listen, Madueke getting a goal yesterday. I didn't even see the game, I missed the game, but I see a couple of the goals. I think England running out 5-0 against Serbia. But yeah, as I said, Madueke getting a goal, but listen, let's see what he does in that Arsenal shirt, because what's that, 3 games and no goals. So yeah, let's just see. Even Martinelli has cooked in internationals. I'm scared for all you rival fans. We aren't messing around anymore. You know what? What I would say, it's showing me that you guys are actually, afraid, because if you're bigging up Madueke and Martinelli, then yeah, I'm sorry, man. We can't really be supporting that, really, because internationals, as we know, is a slower pace, and those 2 players, Madueke and Martinelli, haven't pulled up any trees, really, since they've been in the Premier League. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But big up for your comments each and every time. Gav, can we shout out Declan Rice's set pieces? Every corner, every free kick, it's like a penalty. Yeah, listen, has that got you guys any trophies? Declan Rice's set pieces? Because I'm pretty sure it hasn't, so let's just call that one for the time being. Big up to Chris and Mark. Big up, man, for coming on. Big up. Yeah, all good, man. Hope everyone's good. Hope everyone's enjoying their Wednesday, halfway through the week. And again, got some big boxing news. Some big boxing coming up on the weekend. Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. So something to look forward to. And obviously on Sunday, the Manchester Derby. So we're going to get into that now anyway. And guys, keep your questions and comments coming through. And as always, make sure you guys smash that like button. And if you're new, make sure you sub to the channel as well. So, yeah, I mean, Manchester Derby, Man United versus Man City. Ruben Amorim versus Pep Guardiola. And we're going to go through my lineup. Yeah, big up Lumi. Yeah, almost back, not 100%, but a lot better than yesterday, I can feel. But yeah, massive game, as Chris and Mark says, is a massive game. Pep Guardiola, back-to-back losses against who was it? Brighton and Tottenham. So again, Manchester Derby, he's going to be looking for definitely a win at home. And Man United obviously haven't started off great, but you'd think, going away from home, less pressure, I would say. But again, it's one of them things where United, last game against Burnley was a struggle, so they'll be looking to try and pick up 3 points, or at least a point there. Big up to Jude Fenwick. Big up, Jude, for coming on. So, yeah, listen. There's a few things I want to start off on. Manchester City we're going to start with. Big up to Arto Stage. Says, would you start Sesko? I'm going to go through the team news in a bit. But, again, we're going to go through a couple of the things. So, again, Erling Haaland getting 5 goals, I believe, yesterday for Norway on international break. And listen, he's gonna be in a confident mood come next game, and I think he's definitely gonna be one to watch, and rightfully so. But yeah, we're going to start off with Manchester United. And again, a couple of team news that's come out. You know, Cunha, Mason Mount. I think he might be touch and go for both of them. I think Lisandro Martinez as well. I think he's back in the... he might be back in the squad. But for me, I think the team selection for me is going to be key. You know, as we know, Ruben Amorim's going to play a 3-4-2-1. But I think personnel, you know, and who he plays, I think Dalot, again, I mean, Dalot might be missing, but it wouldn't surprise me if Dalot was pulled out of that Portugal team for precaution. The team that I will start with tomorrow, again, if we're basing it on this 3-4-2-1, you know, I think Matthias de Ligt, Lenny Yoro are absolute certainties. In goal, who do I think he's going to go with? I think Bayindir plays. Yeah, I definitely think Bayindir plays. I think Lamens is not going to be forced in, as I said yesterday, because it's a Manchester derby and the pressure's going to be on, and plus he's away from home as well. So yeah, for me, Bayindir's going to retain his place. And then Lenny Yoro, right side of the three, Matthias de Ligt. And then left side of the three, Luke Shaw. I think it'll be Luke Shaw, de Ligt, and Yoro. I think going forwards, that might be Amorim's favoured back three. You know, I think it's got experience there. It's got pace in the back line, and it has got leadership and physicality. So I do think that is going to be Amorim's favoured back three. And I was thinking Harry Maguire because of his aerial dominance, able to deal with Erling Haaland. But I think Yoro, de Ligt, and Luke Shaw will definitely play. The wing backs for me is what's going to be telling, because if Dalot is fit, I think Dalot starts. And I think he goes with Dalot and Dorgu. I don't think Ahmad starts. And even though Ahmad, Ahmad, was instrumental in United beating City last season, I don't know if I don't know if the manager starts Ahmad. I think he might start Dalot because Dalot's a more defensively minded, and then he might start Dorgu for his athleticism. And again, let's not forget, Dorgu didn't start against Burnley, but I'm pretty sure he'll start Dorgu against Man City. And I think he's going to start Dalot. Again, if Dalot's not fit, then Ahmad will play. Again, I can't stand seeing Ahmad as a right wing back, but I think this manager's going to play Dalot and Dorgu. And if Dalot's not fit, then Ahmad will play out there. Guys, keep your questions and comments coming through. I will definitely get back to them once I finish discussing the team news and the lineup. Midfield, I think there's no surprises what he's going to do there. He's going to go with Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro in that midfield. You know, I think that's his preferred two for me. You know, I think it would definitely be those two. Now, the two tens and the striker is what's going to be interesting. Now, I can see a lot of you are saying Benjamin Sesko in the chat. Now, if Mason Mount is fit, a lot of it depends on Mount and Cunha, because as I said earlier, Mount and Cunha are, I think they might be touch and go. You know, if anyone knows for certain if Mount and Cunha are definitely fit for this game, then make sure you throw that in the chat and let us know. But I think if Mount and Cunha are both fit, I think he goes with the same front three of Mount in the 10, Cunha and Brian Mbeumo. You know, I think that's what he goes with. For me personally, I'd play Mbeumo, Cunha, and Xerxes if they're all fit. But I think this manager is going to play Mason Mount. If Mason Mount, yeah, I think Mason Mount plays if he's fit. You know, and again, it's going to be more of the same in terms of what this manager likes to do. You know, and again, Mason Mount has played decent in the last few games, you know, but again, the fact that he's finding his way in this lineup, you know, a lot of people are saying, you know, they want Sesko to start. People have to realize that Sesko only starts if Mount is not really. That's the way it is. And Mia said Lumi Mount is injured. Yeah. If Mount's injured, then I think Sesko starts because again, Cunha might be touch and go, but I think Cunha might be fit. But it'll be Cunha, Sesko and Mbuemo if Mount doesn't make it, you know. Again, I would like to see Joshua Zirkzee start, but I don't think this manager does that. So I think in a sense, the manager, the team that he picks, you know, he's picking an obvious team that he always plays, really. So the players like Kobe Minu, Joshua Zirkzee that I want to see in the lineup, I don't think he plays. I don't think he's gonna do that. So yeah, I think it's gonna be that team that I've said, and I think he plays Bayinde, Yoro, Delict, Shaw, Dorgu, Dallo if he's fit, Casemiro, Bruno, Mount if he's fit, Mbuemo and Cunha. But again, if Cunha and Mount are both out, then I'd expect him to. And again, guys, this is one to look out for. Yeah, let's say Cunha and Mount are both on the bench because they're not deemed fit enough to start the game. Then what he's gonna do is push Bruno into the left 10, play Sesko through the middle, and then play Mbuemo, and then he'll play Ugarte and Casemiro, I believe, in the midfield too. So again, he's got things to think about, but a lot of it's going to be dependent on Cunha and Mount because again, this manager does rate Mason Mount, so we have to look at his you know, the way that he's going to pick this team based on Mason Mount purely for that, you know. So yeah, listen, it's it's crazy, you know, but I do think you know, I do think that's going to be close to the team that he plays, you know. Guys, I'm going to go through some of your chats. You know, let me know what team you think is going to play because the one that I think, as I said, Luke Shaw, Delict, Yoro, Bayinde in goal, Dallo, Dorgu, Bruno, Casemiro, Mbuemo, Mount and Cunha is his favoured. However, depending on fitness, don't be surprised if Ugarte comes into that midfield of Casemiro and he pushes Bruno further forward, and then Sesko will come in if Cunha or if Cunha or Mount are not fit. So yeah, one to watch. Let's go through some of your chats. Big up yourselves, guys. Come on, there's 22 of you in there and 5 likes. Smash the like button and make sure you sub to the channel. And guys, make sure as well you tune in tomorrow at 7:30. I'm back on with Flawless. So I've got Flawless coming back onto the channel from Sarcasm City TV. So yeah, make sure you guys come through and give us your support. And again, we're going to talk some more Man United stuff. You know, I want to find out, I want to see his view on how, you know, how he thinks the summer transfer window went. You know, I want to see his view on Amorim, you know, if he thinks he lost these 5 games. And of course, the Manchester Derby, I want to see his thoughts and views as well. So yeah, make sure you guys come through and you're giving us your support as always. Big up. Let's see. So Chris Mark says 4022. Just depends on how turns up for United. 4022. I'm not sure what that. I'm not sure what that one means, to be honest. Oh, 4-0 or 2-2. Okay. For me, I'm gonna go. You know, I think it's either gonna be a 1-1 draw or a 2-1 City. Yeah, I mean, I would love United to win this game, but to be honest, I'm not too confident, you know, because the lineup that he's gonna play, you know, I'm never confident with his lineup. So just based on that and the fact that, you know, they struggled to win against Burnley, you know, I'm not that confident to see what he does. But I think City, you know, after having lost back-to-back games, You know, you can't imagine a Pep side losing 3 on the bounce. You know, you got Haaland, you know, in good form in terms of his goal scoring. Again, we're going to go through Man City's lineup and then we'll see. But I think City will win 2-1, or if anything, it'll be a draw, you know, at home. So so Arto Stage says, would you start Sesko? If everyone's fit, again, I've got my favoured lineup that I would play. But if everyone's fit, I'll use Sesko as a bench option because I'm still going to stick by this. Man United's best front three for me, or the 2 10s and the striker, is Mbeumo, Cunha and Xerxes. You know, we haven't seen that three yet consistently. So, but that'll be my three. But in terms of Sesko, Sesko will get game time. But to answer the question, would I start him? If everyone's fit, I wouldn't. I'd have him as a bench option. And then again, if things are not going right, that's when you change things. But I wouldn't start him personally. I would start Xerxes, Sesko, Xerxes, Cunha, and Mbeumo if they're all fit. Adit Cool says Ronaldo or Messi. Messi. So big up to Nathan says, hi guys, I think Sesko needs a start for this game. I think with Sesko, I can see why people are saying Sesko to start because Sesko will stretch the game. You know, he will run in behind, which might create a bit of space for the midfield as well. But for me, I think it's going to be important for United to keep the ball. You know, I don't want to see United go long ball too early. I think trying to keep the ball, you know, trying to fill their way into the game is going to be key because because Man City in transition, you know, are dangerous with Haaland's pace. You know, if Doku does play his pace, and if they've got like if Savinho's back fit, you know, they have got pace. Again, we're going to go through their team news in a bit, but I think it's definitely going to be important for United to keep the ball, and the best way for them to keep the ball is by playing more ball players. And that's why the front three of Xerxes, Cunha and Mbeumo, if they're all fit, would be the way that I would go. You know, but then when the game's a bit more, I think later in the game, you know, I think Sesko's pace, you know, and his aerial ability, and the fact that he will want to stretch the defense, I think that might work better later in the game, personally. You know, but yeah, I can see why people want him to start, but for me, I'll start Xerxes as the 9, and then bring Sesko on. So Addict Cool says, do you know John from your stream? He told that, yeah, listen, is it, I forgot his last name, but he actually come on the channel, actually, yeah. He come on, what was it, about a week ago? Yeah, obviously with his hate for Grealish, you know. Again, I'm not sure what Grealish has done to him. I don't know if, you know, yeah, it's odd. It's odd the way he was just talking rubbish on Grealish, you know. Only him and his demons will know why he hates Grealish, you know. That's something that he's got to deal with, but it didn't make any sense. Loomis says, Mount is vital for this game. You need some high football IQ players for this. I wouldn't say Mount is vital for this game. And again, I wouldn't say Mount is a high IQ kind of player. I think Mount, in the fact that, you know, he is someone that can keep the ball, and he is someone that does offer the legs in midfield. So, you know, against a City team where you want to try and win the ball back, you know, Mason Mount does have his benefits. But again, when you're playing Mason Mount as often as Ruben Amorim does, it means you're going to have to leave a Xerxes or a Sesko out. So again, it's one of them things where, what do you do? Because he's not going to drop Bruno Fernandes. If he plays Mount, you can't play Sesko or Xerxes because Cunha, when he's fit, and Mbeumo have to play because they're the big money signings. So again, it creates its own problem. So I think there is games that Mason Mount could figure into, But the way he's using him regularly is a massive problem. And again, it's going to be interesting to see if Mason Mount actually starts this game on Sunday. You know, if he's fit, I think the manager starts him definitely because they'll be away from home. So yeah, I can see Mason Mount figuring one way or another, which again I don't really agree with. You know. So Jude says, I think Cunha will be fit, but Mount won't be. Yeah, so I mean, I've heard that it's touch and go for both of them. You know, I think there's been a couple of posts that Cunha's put out recently, and is saying that Cunha might be fit for this game. But Mason Mount at this moment, I think it's touch and go. So, but again, if both of them are fit for this game, it just depends how fit they are to see if Amorim's going to risk both of them. But I think if he does want to risk both of them, I think both of them will start under Amorim. So, but we're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. We'll see what happens. So, me says his lineup is Lamens, Ahmad, Yoro, Delit, Maguire, Dorgu, Cass, Mainu, Bruno, Embuemo, Sesko. I think Lamens is a bit of a tricky one, as I said, because I think purely because because it's a Manchester derby and they're away from home, I don't think he's going to risk Lamens, you know, because Lamens hasn't got any Premier League experience. To throw him into a game where, let's face it, both teams have to win, it's a bit of a risky one, you know. So I do think Bayindir plays because Bayindir has been playing the last two league games as well. So I'm confident that Amorim's going to start Bayindir. So yeah, I don't see Lamens starting. Again, Ahmad's gonna play if Dallow's out injured, you know, and you know I'm gonna keep saying this until this manager does go. But the fact that we have to watch Ahmad Diallo play as a wing back is criminal, really, you know, because there's no way a player of that quality should be playing wing back. And again, Ahmad, I would say as well, Ahmad's probably lost a bit of confidence in the fact that he has to keep playing wing back and he can't show what he can really do because this system is hindering him massively. So yeah, I'd love to see Ahmad in a different system, a different formation, playing as a 10, a central 10. So but yeah, I think Bruno's gonna play. Kobe Mino's not gonna play. Cass is gonna play. I think Dorgu starts. I was gonna say Maguire, but Luke Shaw's gonna play because again, Luke Shaw has the physicality. You know, he's got the good recovery pace as well. He's experienced and he's left-footed. So I think Luke Shaw definitely starts. And then you got to play Delict and Lenny Yoro. So I don't think Maguire gets a place there. Embuemo plays. As I mentioned already, Sesko, I think Sesko only starts if Cunha doesn't. So if Cunha's out, Sesko plays, and vice versa. If Mount's out and Cunha can play, then Cunha probably goes on the left, and then you know Sesko goes through the middle. So again, as much as I want Xerxes to start, this manager's not gonna is not gonna start Xerxes, which is again is ridiculous. But yeah, that team that you said me, I mean, there is a few there that I don't think play, you know, but who knows, man? Because Ruben Amorim, you know, we can never guess what he's gonna do, which ain't good, really. Yeah, Marmoush, Foden, Kovacic, Cherky, Gavardio, Stones out. Yeah, I mean, I've heard. I know Cherky, Gavardio, and Kovacic are all out, but I think Stones and Foden, they might be touch and go. I'm not too sure. And Marmoush picked up an injury on international duty, so I think Marmoush, you know, he could be ruled out, but I'm not definitely saying he's out because I think from what I see, I think there was talk about them doing a couple of scans to see how bad the injury is because I think he went off quite early for Egypt, you know. But I think Gavardio, Cherky definitely, and I think Kovacic will miss the game. So, but again, we're going to go through Man City's lineup once I've got through some of your chats. Big up to Mark Harris, says the way Fulham walked through United's defence in second half, United could be on the end of big beatings. Yeah, listen, I don't discount that. And again, we're not going to see much change because he's going to play Casemiro and Bruno. And we all know that midfield isn't the greatest. Bruno's going to vacate that midfield as he always does. And again, Bruno will vacate that midfield. If United go 1-0 down, this is when Bruno's going to become ill-disciplined. If United are still in the game and it's 0-0, Bruno might be more inclined to be more disciplined and stay next to Casemiro. But Bruno's going to revert to type, especially if United go 1-0 down. So, again, that's going to be one to watch out for. But Man United have to go with what they've got. There was no midfield signing. And I think the midfield he's going to favour is Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. And, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I worry. Because if you watch Reinders, who's going to play, Reinders is box-to-box. And if Bruno vacates that midfield, Reinders is going to be in there to break the lines. And as we know, Casemiro, is very experienced, very good in terms of positioning and interceptions. But if Casemiro has been asked to do a man-for-man pressing in midfield, it's not going to be too long before in transition, the ball gets turned over. Casemiro is going to be chasing Reinders, and this is the issue I have, and this is why I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if Manuel Ugarte actually starts the game. I think if Mason Mount or Cunha are out, I wouldn't be surprised if Ugarte starts in midfield alongside Casemiro because of his legs to track Reinders' runs, and then he might push Bruno as a left 10. So that could be one to watch, because I think that midfield is going to be in trouble, especially in the transition. So, and again, if he just drops the midfields, 10 yards deeper, then again, the gap between the defence and the midfield won't be there. I know, obviously, AMORIM's been asking the, Matthias de Ligt, who's the centre-back, to step into midfield to create that overload in there, or that extra man. But I just worry for United in that sense, in terms of the ball being turned over. Because if you look at what's likely to be in Man City's team, they're going to have pace in Haaland and pace in the wide areas, And then when you've got Reinders, who's a box-to-box as well, he's going to be breaking from that midfield deep, And if you've got a Casemiro in there and Bruno, it's not going to be good news. So as I said, don't be surprised if Manuel Ugarte does get a game in these kind of games. And again, I'm not too adverse, Ugarte playing in a game like this to start shop, because his legs will be needed. But again, let's just see what AMORIM does. Big up to Broderick as well for coming through. Yeah, listen, man. Jed Spence is the top player, man. I'm glad Jed Spence is now capped by England, because I do think he's a very good player. Obviously, right and left back he can play. I think him getting in at right back is going to be a tough deal because you've got Reece James. Trent didn't even get called up as well. You've got Livramento who can play there and play left back. I swear there's one more as well. I mean, there was talk of Rico Lewis, but he's dropped off. So, yeah, it's not going to be easy for Spence to nail a regular start. But the fact that he's in the squad is very good news. Very good news. Okay, he's the first Muslim player to get a call-up. Mad. So Mark Harris says, Luke Shaw, Dallow should be nowhere near the first team. You know what it is, Mark, yeah? With someone like Luke Shaw, for me, Luke Shaw, he signals mediocrity at this club. He does. He's someone that's been there for, what, 10 years, and, he never really gets called out as much as a lot of other players. But in terms of Luke Shaw, the footballer, when he's fit, he's actually a good footballer. There's no doubting that he is, He's got very good recovery pace. He's fairly strong as well. And, You know, he's got good ability on the ball. The fact with Luke, the thing with Luke Shaw is his availability, and again with Luke Shaw is how long does he stay fit for. So that's the only thing people level against him. You know, is his fitness and you know he's professionalism, really, his mentality. But what I would say is, do I expect Luke Shaw to start this game tomorrow? I think he does start this game tomorrow. You know, you got Aiden Heaven there, who I'd like to play, but I think Luke Shaw does start this game for sure. And but on the other hand, Dallo in this system, yeah, he's a massive problem in this system, Diego Dallo, and he's someone for me that unless you're gonna play four at the back and him as a right back, he doesn't offer nothing in this formation. So yeah, this is the problem. Nathan says United 2, City 1 will we winning this game. I hear it, Nathan, and I hope so. I'm not confident, I'll be honest. The fact that Erling Haaland, you know, bagged 5 goals yesterday, he's gonna come back into this game confident. Obviously, they're gonna have to back off 2 losses as well. So yeah, it's not gonna be easy. And if I'm honest, I'm gonna say 2-1 City or a 1-1 draw. I think that's gonna be fair. Big up to Barbara Joseph each and every time. Big up to Murney Blessed Turkate says, I wish AMORIM plays 3-5-2 instead of the 3-4-3. So again, people need to realise, yeah, and I'm glad, Murney, you've come out with this, yeah. Man United are not playing a 3-4-3. I don't know why people think United are playing a 3-4-3. United are playing a 3-4-2-1 because this system has wing-backs, yeah. When this system has wing-backs, you know, you can't have wingers and wing-backs at the same time because the width comes from the wing-backs. So people that think that Man United are playing a 3-4-3, they're not. They're playing a 3-4-2-1, which is why, you know, we mentioned the left 10 and the right 10 because you've got the wing-backs that offer that, which is why I keep saying when you see Ahmad Diallo playing as a wing-back, it's a disgrace when you have number 10s in a number 10 position, you know. And again, Brian Mbeumo is a winger, but he's playing as a right 10. You know, so they've got Mbeumo and they've got Ahmad really in the opposite roles, because the closest player to the closest position to a winger is wing back in this system. So so that's what I'm saying. They're not playing a 3-4-3. They're playing a 3-4-2-1. But again, I want to see 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. That's the formation I want to see. More or less 4-2-3-1. Because you get to see Ahmad playing as a central 10. And I don't want to hear people say that Ahmad hasn't got the physicality for that, because he does. And he's very tenacious as well. So he can help back. He can help track back. And he can help in the final third as well. And again, I see a quote today. Or is it yesterday or today? From Ahmad's former manager at Sunderland, Tony Mowbray. And he mentioned that Ahmad's a genius with the ball at his feet. You know, the ball's always stuck so close to him. And he says it's mad that if anyone's got the quote, make sure you put that in the chat. But Tony Mowbray, ex-Sunderland manager, saying that it's crazy that that AMORIM is fitting Ahmad as a wing-back into this system. And I've been saying that for ages. The fact that we've got to see Ahmad play as a wing-back, you know, is not talked about enough. Because you're playing an actual number 10 who's a genius with the ball at his feet, as what Sunderland manager Tony Mowbray said. We're having to watch him play wing-back. Now, if anyone's played football to any level, you would know that playing as a wing-back is one of the hardest positions on the pitch. And you have to be someone that is willing to play that role. Up and down for no reward. You know, you're more or less used as a decoy kind of person because, you know, if you're playing as a 10, you know, you're using your wing back really as a decoy for the overlapping run. And the fact that Ahmad's being used as a decoy, let's be honest, is criminal, really. You know, so yeah, the quick, as I'm saying to you guys, the quicker this manager gets moved on, because he's not going to change his system, and we're going to have to keep watching Ahmad play as a wing back. The quicker he gets moved on, the better Ahmad you're going to get. Playing Ahmad where he does his his quality in the final third rather than running up and down, you know, and then getting the ball when he's tired. So, yeah, that's the thing. Gav, when you played on these top pitches, did the ball move quick? Yeah. I mean, obviously, a lot of the pitches that I played on back then, they weren't the greatest of pitches, to be honest. Obviously, on the professional grounds, it's different. You know, you got more space. But yeah, listen, it's one of them things where if you're playing on a nice surface, you know, then you can afford to move the ball quick. You know, because obviously everyone will be in sync as well, and you're not having to think about too much of your touch. Because it should be instant on a nice pitch. So yeah, it's one of them things. It's one of them things. But yeah. Big up to Shax the Gulamov. Yeah, big up. Big up to Agnes as well for coming through. Broderick says Mount Defo plays with an intelligence we don't really see at United. But again, who are we comparing his intelligence to? You know, that's the question I wanna know. That's the answer I wanna know. Who are we actually comparing it to? Because do I think Mount's the most intelligent player in Man United's squad? I don't. I just think Mount is someone, and again, I've mentioned this before, you know, if Mount was playing and Bruno wasn't, I wouldn't have so much of a problem with Mason Mount in the team every now and again. Because as a footballer, I actually think he's a better footballer than Bruno Fernandes. But Bruno does get better numbers than him. But then when you've got both of them in the team, this is part of the problem. So I'd much prefer to see one or the other, you know. But if I had my way, I'd see neither of them. So but again, this is the manager for you, you know. Big up to Graham Barstable says, I'm a crazy Man United fan, and I think we're in extreme crisis, even having signed Cunha, Mbeumo and Sesko. Man United poison players, and that's hard to say as such a big fan. Every good player that goes to. Yeah, listen, Graham, big up yourself for coming on as well. And what I would say is that Manchester United as a club, throughout the years, you know, I think if we're looking at, you know, the history of United and players they bring in terms of have they got better or have they got worse, I'd have to say it's 50-50. You know, I think over recent times, you know, they've ruined players. The fact that Cunha, Mbeumo and Sesko were all signed, I think definitely Cunha and Mbeumo are very good signings, you know, and I do believe sooner or later they will come good. I don't believe they come good in this system, though, in this formation, because I think this formation stifles the actual ball players, you know. There isn't too much freedom in this system as well. So I think in terms of those players, if we want to see more out of those players, we're going to have to see a different system, unfortunately, you know. Sesko, for me, as I've mentioned before, wasn't a massive fan of him. But what I would say is that, you know, he definitely does have qualities. You know, his movement's very good. As we know, he's very good in the air. And if he is an alternative to the likes of to the likes of Xerxes, I haven't got a massive problem with that. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, the club has been in a crisis for over a decade now, since Ferguson left, and we all know why that was. You know, they should never have sacked Louis van Gaal. Louis van Gaal definitely should have stayed. He was building something, but again, the fan base and the club got excited really because Mourinho was available, and as we know, Mourinho's someone that, you know, he needs ready-made players, hasn't got time for development, which kind of killed. Well, basically that killed what Louis van Gaal was doing. So all the work that Louis van Gaal put in place was all undone by the appointment of Jose Mourinho. And then you think Mourinho gets sacked. They bring in Solskjaer, who was a club, I wouldn't even say legend, cult hero, I would say, because of what he done in '99, sticking his leg out in that final to score the winner. Again, he had no right being there really as a manager because he was there just off vibes. And then you look at him getting sacked and then bringing in Eric Ten Hag. And at the time, we're thinking Ten Hag with his total football philosophy at Ajax, which we knew now, which we now know was nothing to really do with him. And now we have to see with Ruben Amorim. And Amorim, there's no doubt that Amorim has taken United backwards. You know, I'd argue that of anyone. He's taken United backwards. And as I said, these things have been in place for far too long now. And but I look at the infrastructure now of what Ineos are trying to do in terms of the recruitment side of it. And they are trying to change things. You know, the new stadium, the new training ground, you know, the club signings. You know, it's a good start for me. And I look at that as, you know, they are trying to make subtle changes. There's still a long way to go. But for me, the biggest thing will be this manager. And if this manager doesn't go, you know, I think they're gonna be making a massive mistake. Because I've seen too much from this manager that to know that he isn't gonna be the manager that a lot of fans think he's gonna be. I think in terms of what he's done in terms of the outgoings has been crucial, and I commend him for doing that. But in terms of what I'm seeing on the pitch week in, week out from United, the fact that we got to keep watching this system and the wrong players playing in this system is what's going to be his undoing, and his favoritism of certain players. So that's the problem. But big up to Graham, man. Big up to Arsenal and Pakistan cricket team says, so Marmoush needs to leave City like Alvarez if he wants game time. I don't know if he needs to leave. I think he might be doubtful for this game, might be out. But I think Marmoush will get game time, he will. But, you know, in terms of the striking position, as we know, he's not going to play regularly because Haaland's there. And he's obviously he's on that death row contract of 10 years as well. So, yeah. But I think he will find his way in the lineup sooner or later because he is a quality player. But, you know, when you've got so many players that, you know, really have to be playing this team, this is what creates the competition. And Marmoush, if he takes his game, because his quality is definitely there, but if he's up to the challenge, he'll find his way in the team, no doubt. You know. Look at all this Madueke love. You know, as I said, let's see what Madueke does against Forest come the weekend. Let's see if Madueke is instrumental in Arsenal winning the Champions League or a league title, and then we can start talking, Lumi, yeah, because at the moment it sounds like a lot of hope rather than you thinking he's that player. So me says United are playing a 2-4-3-1 when in possession with two centre-backs at halfway line. That's great, but when we're out of possession, he plays a 5-2-3. That's the problem, a straight line of five at the penalty box. Yeah, big up to me. Listen, yeah, I agree, but what I'm talking about is not in possession or out of possession. I'm talking about the standard lineup that he starts off with, you know, because again, many teams build up with a three at the back anyway, you know, in possession. If you look at the majority of the top teams that are ball playing teams, they build up with a three. So in terms of out of possession and in possession, you are right. They are in a, well, I say they build up in a three, so not a 2-4-3-1. They build up in a three at the back, and out of possession, he does revert to the five at the back as well, because this is why the big thing about him playing fullbacks in the wing-back positions is the problem, because you can't have five players that are more defensive players and think you're going to be scoring many goals. It's not going to happen. You know, if you're playing fullbacks in the wing backs, they're going to be naturally defensive. And then you've got the three centre-back, the three defenders anyway. You know, and as I said, although I don't like Ahmad as a right wing back, you know, you have to play him there if you are going to persist with his system because he's an attacker. So, but again, the standard formation that United play is 3-4-2-1, not 3-4-3 or 2-4-3-1 or 5-2-3. It's the 3-4-2-1. That's how they line up. You know, Luke Shaw, De Ligt and Lenny Yoro, the two wing backs in Dorgu and Ahmad or Dallo, the two in midfield of Bruno and Casemiro, and then you got the two tens in Cunha and Embuemo and then the striker. And again, this is why people think Embuemo is actually playing in his position when he's not. Even though Embuemo starts off, you know, on the right, this position, this system that Man United play, he's playing as a 10 because it's a right and left 10. So he becomes more inverted. So again, this is the problem, you know. So Cunha can play left wing or cam, and Embuemo can play right wing and left wing, and Ahmad can play right wing. Great, and I think could play left wing just as good. Yeah, so listen, in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, this is why, for me, I'd love to see this formation change because just going off Cunha, if you play a 4-2-3-1, Cunha can play as the 10, he can play on the left and play as a striker. So you've got a player there that can play three positions in Cunha. If you play the 4-2-3-1, Embuemo is predominantly going to play as a right winger and can play as a striker if need be. You know, Amad Diallo, if you play the 4-2-3-1, can play in the 10, can play right wing, and if need be, can play left wing as well. So you've got three players there that are amongst United's best attackers, can cover 2 to 3 positions easily across the 4-2-3-1. If you play the 4-3-3, you know, whether you play a deep line midfielder and you play two box-to-box number 8s, or you play an advanced playmaker and a box-to-box, or a deep line playmaker in midfield and a box-to-box, it depends, yeah? Or a advanced playmaker and a deep line playmaker and a 6. You know, if you look at Ahmad will play right wing and left wing if necessary. Embuemo can play right wing and play as a striker. Cunha can play left wing as a striker. So again, the 4-3-3, it limits the amount of positions that Ahmad, Cunha and Embuemo can play in a sense. The 4-2-3-1, you know, you've got those three players there that can occupy 3 positions. But this is why, for me, if you look at the system now, Cunha really is ineffective as a forward in this system as a striker. So really, he can only play one position in this system, and that's a left 10. Brian Embuemo is not a right 10, but he's playing that position anyway. Can play as a strike, as a forward and as a wing back. But really and truly, you're not really going to get a much effective Brian Embuemo in this system, and realistically can only cover the one position, and that's not to the best of his ability. Again, Ahmad, you know, is not a wing back. He's not that effective in the system as a 10, right 10. So again, those 3 players are clearly more suited to play in a different formation, which is why, just like me and just like many others, keep banging on about, you know, a manager bringing in a different formation and a system. So yeah, it's crazy. So me says, the day we accept Mount as a starter for United, then we've gone downhill badly. Same with Shaw, Maguire, Annan, etc. Yeah, listen, I definitely agree with that. You know, I think with someone like Mason Mount, if Mason Mount didn't cost 60 mil, wasn't on 250, didn't wear the number 7 shirt, I would have no problem if he was a squad rotation. But the biggest problem with Mason Mount is that he has all those things I just mentioned, and this manager's trying to shoehorn him into the team now as well. And it means that you're going to be losing out on other players that should be playing because they could be on the bench. This is part of the issue, you know. This is part of the issue. Gav, what is it about the United badge that is so heavy. Top players come and don't perform. Sanchez, Di Maria, Pogba come to mind. Great question. What I would say, and just based on those three players you've mentioned, Alexis Sanchez, you could see was on a decline coming to Manchester United as well. So a lot of his thing was, he wasn't the same player that he was at Arsenal and even at Barcelona. So he was coming to the end. Not to mention as well, under Mourinho, was Mourinho's system the best system to get the best out of Alexis Sanchez? If you look at Arsenal, he had the freedom to go wherever he wanted and influence the game. I think at Man United, I don't think he was given that under Mourinho as much. Not to mention, loss of confidence and the loss of form, and he was on a decline. Um, that's one thing. Di Maria, as we know, Di Maria didn't want to come to Man United in the first place. Obviously, he had that situation where, he got burgled as well. So he would have been unsettled from that, and I think that was a massive part in, because Di Maria's quality was there. But the fact that, personal problems unsettled, and the fact that he didn't want to come to United in the first place, he was more or less on borrowed time in his mind, being at Manchester United. And again, under Van Gaal, Van Gaal's coaching would have been there, but I think Di Maria was someone that, there was other factors as to why, he couldn't perform to his maximum, even though there was times that he did show moments of brilliance at Manchester United. But I think ultimately, when you don't want to be at the club, it's only a matter of time before things go the other way. And that's what happened. And then Pogba's one, for me, the team wasn't set up to get the best out of Paul Pogba in the first place, not to mention the racial abuse that he had from his own fans as well. But if you look at if you look at Paul Pogba was Man United's most talented player. And in the end, he was used as like a jack of all trades. When we had to watch Paul Pogba being played in a was it a left wing role to track, was it right wing or left wing he played? I think it might have been to track Andy Robertson's runs. When you're a manager and you're doing that to your most talented player, you should have been sacked on the spot for doing that. And I think Solskjaer done that. And that was all because, for some unknown reason, this club tried to make Paul Pogba play second fiddle to Bruno Fernandes, which again is criminal. Because there's no one that can come on here and tell me that Bruno Fernandes is a better player than Paul Pogba. He was nowhere near him as a football player. So again, Paul Pogba wasn't set up in the right way to be maximized in this team. They didn't have a midfielder that they could play to allow him to flourish. You look at him playing for Juventus. He had Andrea Pirlo, who would dictate the game. And then you had Arturo Vidal or even a Marquisio that provided the legs to allow Pogba to be that mercurial talent. At Man United, I believe he was playing with Matic, who was on a decline, and then a McTominay, who wasn't a defensive midfielder. So again, Paul Pogba wasn't set up in the best way by the club to get the best for him. And as I said, when you're playing him on the wing, to supplement Bruno Fernandes, that's when you have to ask yourself serious questions as a manager. Was that the right decision to do that? Because it wasn't, So again, the heavy badge, I understand that. I understand that kind of comment. But for me, a lot of players haven't been set up in the right way to maximize their ability. And those three players, for different reasons, come to mind. And again, just if you look at recent times, Cunha, I mean, Cunha's is a kind of personality that just give him the ball and he'll make things happen. Do I believe Cunha reaches the heights that he should for Man United? At this moment in time, I doubt it, purely because I just don't believe in this manager and in the system to help the likes of a Cunha flourish. But again, Man United is a massive club, and you know it has swallowed a lot of players. But I'll go as far and say a lot of players haven't been given the platform to maximize their abilities. Definitely, you know, and this is the challenge now for Man United, because if you're a big player, you know, you're going to be having second thoughts coming there, knowing that your career could be going in the wrong direction, you know. But this is why I'm going to give Ineos the time to see what they're actually building. You know, a lot of it is building a good culture at the club, and that's a good start. From what I'm seeing, you can definitely tell the culture is starting to change at the club from what's previously been there. But on the pitch, there's massive question marks, and the manager does have to take, you know, the brunt of the criticism from me. Because, you know, as I said, a lot of fans will start saying the players are not good enough, and you know, and start saying the manager needs his own players. But what I would say is, at what point are you going to start looking at the manager? Because if Man United win the game, fans will praise AMORIM. If they lose the game, they blame the players, which for me doesn't make any sense. You know, the buck stops with the manager, and at the end of the day, I'm looking at the formation, I'm looking at the players he plays, the players he favours, and he's gonna fail just based on that, because there's no excuse for there's no excuse for the kind of players he consistently plays, and for this formation, and we're having to see certain players play in this formation. So yeah, but great question, Lumi. Great question. So Joseph Kain Duo says Man U will win against Man City 3-1 from Zambia. Big up. Joseph, if you're still there, man, care to tell us why you think they'll win? Let us know why you think they'll win. Because I don't think it's just as simple to say United are going to go there and beat them away from home 3-1, you know, because Man United struggled to a 3-2 win against Burnley, which, let's be honest, shouldn't have been that. I think United might fancy Man United will fancy their chances because of the form that City have been showing. But again, I think City's team selection for me will be key, which I'm going to go into in a bit. But I don't think 3-1 is going to be a certainty. You know, I think a draw. Put it this way: if United come out of there with a draw, you know, it won't be the end of the world. Put it that way, because I think City will be going for them early on. I think that will happen. Big up to Philly L4. Big up. Yeah, listen, for what Ineos have done so far for me as well, I think it's a step in the right direction. You know, a lot of fans are not happy with the fact that a lot of staff have been let go. And they got rid of 30 players in the window. Listen, I think what they've done has been commendable, you know, and again, people are gonna have their say on the fact that a lot of staff have been let go. But for me, the way that I look at it, you know, they're having to make big calls and big changes, which is what a lot of fans wanted to see, and that's what they've had to do. So at the end of the day, you know, it's harsh that a lot of people have lost their jobs, but unfortunately, you know, ruthless decisions have to be made, and this is why, if they're being ruthless with cutting staff, they have to be ruthless with his manager. And I believe they will be doing that. You know, I am disappointed that it hasn't been done in an international break. But what I look at now is these next 5 games, because these next 5 games against City, Chelsea, Brentford, Sunderland, and Liverpool is going to tell me all I need to know. Because after these 5 games, if I don't see, you know, I think 8 points is fair from 5 games, which is 2 wins and 2 draws. You know, can Ruben Amorim get 2 wins and 2 draws? Well, he better hope so, because if I don't see 2 wins and 2 draws in the next 5 games, it's gonna tell me all I need to know what Ineos are what Ineos are thinking. You know, because I just don't see this manager staying there if those 5 games don't end in at least 2 wins and 2 draws. And the 2 wins I'm expecting are Sunderland and Brentford. You know, one at home, one away, and then against Liverpool, City, and Chelsea. You know, if you can get at least a draw, 2 draws against 2 of them teams, I'd think, you know what, fair enough. But I think anything less than 8 points is a failure. People are saying anything less than 6. You know, um, I think if he gets 6 points in 5 games, that's criminal for me, because you're beating Sunderland and Brentford, which, to be honest with you, they should be doing that anyway with the investment that's been put into this team. But I don't think 6 points is going to be fine. I mean, I know some of you that have voted, obviously from my post on the other day. Some of you are saying 6 points, which I think you're letting the manager off the hook. 6 points should be a minimum, you know. Sorry, 6 points should be, yeah, we expect 6 points. But for me, for him to be safe, he needs to get 8 points and above. As I said, that's either 2 wins against Sunderland and Brentford, which you'd expect, and then picking up points against City, Chelsea, or Liverpool. So that's for me, yeah. But we'll have to wait and see, man, starting with Sunday. Yeah, big up Philly, man. Yeah, Haaland's on a death row contract, man. Listen, 10 years. You know, he's committed his future to that club, definitely, you know. Marmoush, Cherky, Stones, Gavardio, Kovacic, Foden out injured for Sunday. As I said, I've heard that Stones and Foden might be touch and go, and then Marmoush they're gonna see. But listen, if they're all out, you know, if we're looking at all those players, you'd arguably say they're all starters, really, in their own way. So it's gonna be a massive miss, but again, Pep's gonna have to do something, you know, if they're all out. So Amorim is sacked and Ineos recruit Gav after liking his vision and opinions on YouTube. Do you finish top 4? You know what? If I was manager of Manchester United right now, you know, I'm not saying top 4 is doable, because you got to think of the other teams, yeah? But United having 1 game a week, yeah? For me, if I'm manager, a good start would be changing the system. It would be. You know, I know a lot of people have said, I mean, again, it's a load of nonsense, yeah. Man United got Ten Hag sacked in the 4-2-3-1 system. But what people are failing to forget is that Ten Hag was a poor manager for one, and Ten Hag played a front three of Rashford, Garnacho, and Højlund. If anyone knows football, you would know that that front three would never work. So to think that you've got Mbeumo, Cunha, Xerxes, Kobe Minu, Ahmad, Sesko, all in your front line, there's no one that can tell me that front line isn't better than having, you know, Rashford, Garnacho, and Højlund. So if I'm manager of United, I'm changing the formation straight away, 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, and I'd be confident having 1 game a week of getting top 6 as a minimum requirement. I would be. But this system, this formation is not going to get United top 6. I guarantee you that. And again, this manager, you know, I just don't see him being there for the long term to see that. Yeah, listen, I know there's been a lot of talk about Oliver Glasner, and Glasner's a very good manager. And Lumi, let's not forget, yeah, Glasner's been there how long? What, 2 seasons, and he's won the same amount of trophies as Arteta. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. Glasner's a very good manager. The only thing with Glasner, as I think Mees mentioned, I'm tired of this back three, because this back three doesn't allow you to get your best players in the team all at the same time. So I don't really want to see the back three personally. But what I would say is that does Glasner come here and play a back three? I think personally, Glasner will come to United and play a four. I think he probably plays a back three because he looks at the players he has, and they're more suited to playing a back three. And let's not forget, Crystal Palace aren't Man United. But I think he'll look at the players he has and he'll be that adaptable and play a four. So, you know what I mean? Iraola, Glasner. I heard Zidane's gone to Fenerbahce, and I'm hoping that's not true, because that would be criminal if that has actually happened, you know? If anyone knows that for certain about Oliver Glasner. But I heard Glasner's gone to about Zidane, sorry. I heard Zidane's gone Fenerbahce, and I'm hoping that's not true. But as I said, yeah, I think definitely a change of system is what does it for me, you know. Gav, what's your all-time Man United five-a-side? All-time Man United five-a-side? That's difficult. I'd probably say in goal, Peter Schmeichel. I'm torn between, because if I'm looking at my team, I'm looking at in goal Schmeichel, and I'm looking at one defender. Now, the defender for me is key, because you need someone that's solid, but also you need someone that's good on the ball. And I would say Jaap Stam. I was thinking between Jaap Stam and Rio Ferdinand. Rio Ferdinand, very elegant on the ball. But I think Jaap Stam, very aggressive, is decent on the ball, and is a competitor as well. So Jaap Stam just ahead for me of what's his name? Of Rio Ferdinand. Next is easy, Paul Scholes. So Schmeichel, Stam, Scholes. Rooney. Oh, it's difficult. Yeah, Rooney. I mean, I know people are looking at Ronaldo, but I'm looking at someone. I'm looking at someone that because with Rooney can get around the pitch. Paul Scholes can dictate, and so I'm looking at someone that can hold the ball. I'm looking at either Eric Cantona or Dimitar Berbatov. It might surprise people, even the Luis Saha, but people will say Ronaldo. But it means, for me, I wouldn't have Rooney and Ronaldo and Scholes for me, because I think if anyone's played five-a-side, you need someone that can confidently hold the ball. And even though Rooney can do that as a striker, Ronaldo's not really known for that. I think Rooney in a five-a-side team will be better suited to getting around the pitch in his prime, and that's why I'd probably say Eric Cantona for his aura. So Schmeichel in goal, Jaap Stam, Paul Scholes, Wayne Rooney, Eric Cantona for me. Yeah, I'll probably say that. But I'm leaving out Beckham, Giggs. I'm leaving out Dwight York. Ronaldo, as I said. It's probably others I've left out, but it's not an easy one. Big up to Crawley Eagle. Big up, man. So Cheza says R7. Who's R7? Rooney, Nani, Scholes, Schmeichel. Yeah, listen, Nani, another one, top player. Anderson, again. Michael Carrick. Look at that, I'm leaving out Carrick. I think for me, it's between Carrick and Scholes. So, yeah, you can pick either or. But it's not easy. Yeah, Van der Sar in goal. Van Nistelrooy. Shit. Forgot about Van Nistelrooy. So Crawley Eagle reckons Van der Sar, Rio, Scholes, Giggs, Van Nistelrooy. Um, yeah, listen, it's not easy, man. I think whatever team anyone goes with, it's a strong team, put it that way. Gav, what's your three bankers of the weekend? Do you know what? I can't remember the fixtures. If anyone's got the fixtures, put them in the chat and we can go through them. Lumi reckons Seaman, Adams, Vieira, Henry, Burkamp. Strong team. I think Seaman, Adams, Vieira, Henry, Burkamp. If that team was to go against Schmeichel, Stam, Scholes, Rooney, and Cantona, that is tough. That's good because if we go player for player, Schmeichel's better than Seaman, Stam's better than Adams. Oh, Vieira and Scholes. That's tough. Vieira, Scholes is touch and go really. Burkamp and Rooney. Sorry, well, no, yeah, Burkamp and Rooney. That's tough again. And then Henry and Cantona. Again, that's tough. I would say if I'm comparing my team against that team that Lumi's done, I think there's possibly only one, maybe two, that will get into my team. I would say, and that's probably Henry, because I look at Henry as, you know, the best player to play in the Premier League. But then again, Burkamp can be argued as that as well. So as one of them, but it's not easy. Put it that way. Big up to Shaheen Afridi. Big up to Malcolm as well. Yeah, big up Lumi each and every time. So yeah, listen, guys, tomorrow I'm with Flawless tomorrow at 7:30. So yeah, make sure you guys come through and give us your questions and your comments as always. I'm gonna go through Man City's lineup, what I think they will do. Again, the big question is, do they start with Gianluigi Donnarumma? For me, Donnarumma's gonna start. I think he does start. I know definitely I think Donnarumma does start. I know it's one of them things where he might not be used to the way that City play. But I think the reason I think he starts because it's going to be a confidence boost to the fans after losing back-to-back games. And it'll be something that the fans will be excited about, having a new signing, and he starts straight away in a Manchester derby. So I think Donnarumma starts. The defense is going to be interesting because I think Ait Nouri might be fit. So Ait Nouri plays left back. Right back will be interesting. I think he's going to play Matthias Nunes. I think he plays Matthias Nunes there purely because even though Nunes is a midfielder, but I think he plays Nunes because of Nunes' athleticism. I think that's why he plays him. I don't know if he plays. I don't think he plays Rico Lewis. I think he might look at Rico Lewis as someone that might be a bit vulnerable in that sense in the Manchester derby. So I think Nunes might play right wing back, Ait Nouri left wing back. Centre back, I think he has to play Kusanov because Kusanov's pace is going to be key, especially if a Sesko does start. You know, Kusanov's pace will be key, and I think he plays Ruben Diaz next to him. Midfield is where it's going to be interesting. I think the fact that Rodri's back and Rodri's going to be crucial to them, you know. So I think Rodri does start, and I think he plays next to Tijani Reinders. I was thinking, do they play three in there? And I think they might, you know. I think he might play. I think he might play three in midfield of Rodri, Reinders, and Bernardo Silva. I think Bernardo Silva definitely starts this game, but it's just where Bernardo Silva's going to start because I think Jeremy Doku's going to start this game, funny enough. Because I think Doku starts on the left, Haaland through the middle, and then on the right, it depends if he's going to stick with Oscar Bob. I think if Oscar Bob starts, then Bernardo Silva, Reinders and Rodri play in the midfield. If Oscar Bob doesn't start, I think he plays Bernardo Silva from the right and then plays Reinders, Rodri, and I mean, if Marmoush is out, yeah, that changes actually. Because I'm thinking that's Savinho play. I don't know if Savinho plays. I mean, I'd play Savinho, but obviously he was rumoured to be leaving. So if Oscar Bob, well, but put it this way, if Oscar Bob starts, then it's Bernardo Silva, Rodri and Reinders midfield, Doku on the left, Haaland up top. If Oscar Bob doesn't start, then Savinho might start with Bernardo Silva. But I think Bernardo Silva is going to start in midfield with Reinders and Rodri and Haaland up top, Doku on the left. I think that's the way he might go. You know, yeah, I think that's what Pep's going to do personally. But again, I think it's going to be an interesting game, man, because both teams need to come out of that game without a loss. For me, I think you would say it's difficult to say. Is it more Man United that will be hurt from the loss than City? I think I'm going to say more City because City have lost back-to-back league games. If they lose a third and a Manchester derby, I think a lot of fans, Manchester City fans, are going to start questioning Pep, and I think it's a bigger game for Man City more than Man United. So I think, in that sense, it's going to be more. The pressure is going to be more on City to not lose this game. Whereas if Man United lose, you know, it's one of them things where the pressure's already on Ruben Amorim. So, yeah, listen, I think it's a bigger game for Man City. And I think just based on that, I think they're going to rise to the occasion. And I wouldn't be surprised if City nick it 2-1. You know, but if United can get a draw, you know, that'll be a good start. Big up to my sports roundup. Yeah, big up, man. And again, as he says, football is back, man. Thank God for that. International break over and done with. So we can look forward to the Premier League returning. And yeah, 100%, man. I'm here for it. So Malcolm says, why are we discussing another manager? Amorim is going nowhere. Let's just please trust the process this time and let's all be open for the change and support it. I have to disagree with you, Malcolm. When you're saying Amorim isn't going anywhere, that's not true. Because I can tell you this for free. If Manchester United was to lose all 5 of them games, there's no one on here that can say that Amorim's not going anywhere, because he will be. So when you're saying he's not going anywhere, that's completely not true, because not even there's no board that are going to keep a manager, especially at Man United, losing 5 games in a row. So again, it's one of them things with Amorim. For me, I look at it as him surviving, because if he does get beat by Chelsea, get beat by Man City, and then Chelsea comes up, you know, under pressure, he's going to have to win that game. This is why I'm saying these 5 games are crucial, because you've got Liverpool and City both away from home. You know, by all means, if he does get positive results against those 2 teams, then fair enough. But, you know, to say that he's definitely not going anywhere, that's not true. And it's not about trusting the process, because at the end of the day, if the team are not performing, well enough, then by all means he'll deserve the sack. And again, the team have shown since last season that there hasn't really been any progress. You know, I don't want people getting carried away with the fact that United beat Burnley, you know, through a goal from a penalty that wasn't really a penalty because he was fouled outside the box, Ahmad. I don't want people getting carried away with that and thinking the manager's now building something, because he's had 40-odd games and I've not seen anything positive, as I said. So the fact that they're keeping him on at the moment, is because they're trying to save face. Let's be honest. And let's just hope, again, I'm not one of them fans that hopes Man United lose so the manager does go. The writing's gonna be on the wall, because I just don't believe in this manager. I don't believe in his team selection. I don't believe in the players that he favors. And this is what I'm saying to you guys. Ultimately, it's gonna come to a head where he's gonna have nowhere left to stand. So we'll have to wait and see. Big up to Kashmir says, what happened to Alex Unbreakable Financial that gig said? Don't know, not sure about that one. So yeah. But guys, listen, that's my prediction for Manchester United versus Man City. Obviously, the team news, we'll go through it one more time before we wrap up. So yeah, Man United, obviously, there's news that Cunha and Mount might be touch and go. I think if both players are fit, I think AMORIM starts both of them. So AMORIM's team, which he's going to play, which I think he might do, is Bayern there in goal, Euro, Delict, and Luke Shaw, Dorgu and Ahmad. So I think is Dallo out injured? If Dallow's injured, if anyone can confirm if Dallow's out injured, because I think if Dallow's not injured, I think Dallo starts. So I'm gonna say Dallo if he's fit, him and Dorgu. Casemiro, Bruno, Mount, Cunha, and Mbuemo. However, if yeah, Chrism, man, if you can put the fixtures in the chat, I can answer that question, man. 'Cause I can't remember the fixtures. So yeah, put that in the chat, man. But yeah, so if Mount and Cunha are both out, then I think he starts Sesko through the middle. Bruno will go as a left 10, and then Ugarte comes in alongside Casemiro. So yeah, those are the things I think he's gonna do. City for me, again, they've got injury problems, but I think he plays Donnarumma I think Donnarumma gets his debut ahead of James Trafford. I think he plays Matthias Nunes right back, Nuri left back, Diaz and Kusanov. And I think Kusanov has to play because of his pace and his aggression as well. I think he plays a midfield three of Bernardo Silva, Reinders and Rodri. And then I think Oscar Bob, I think, might start. It could be him or Savinho, but I think Bob might get the nod. On the left, I think he plays Doku. And then through the middle, Erling Haaland. Obviously, Marmoush, from what we're seeing, it might be injured. The same with Foden. And obviously, Cherky's out as well. So, again, if those three were fit, then I think that attacking lineup might look different. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. As I said, I'm looking at 1-1 or 2-1 Man City. I just don't think United win this. I've seen too many reasons to suggest that United won't win this game. And I think if they get a draw, then fair enough. But then Chelsea, you would hope that, at home against Chelsea, we can get something there as well. But then going into Sunderland and Brentford and Sunderland, United have to win that game, win both them games. And then if you're getting a couple of points against City and Chelsea, 2 wins against Sunderland and Brentford, and a draw, or even if it's a loss against Liverpool, then fair enough. You know what I mean? Fair enough. But who knows? Who knows? So Newcastle versus Wolves, Liverpool versus Burnley, City, Man United, Everton, Aston Villa, West Ham Spurs, Chelsea, Brentford, Palace, Sunderland. Okay. So the 3 bankers I'm going for. Liverpool are away to Burnley. I don't think Isak starts that game. I think Isak will be on the bench because I don't think they'll change a winning team. Brighton, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Forest, Fulham, Leeds. The 3 bankers, I'm gonna say. I think Liverpool beat Burnley. I do think that happens. That's 1. Are Newcastle at home to Wolves? If Newcastle are at home to Wolves, I think they beat Wolves. And then I think it's tough, man, because, yeah, Newcastle, Wolves, Liverpool, Burnley. I think Newcastle, Wolves, Newcastle win that if they're at home. Liverpool to beat Burnley. Okay, yeah. So Newcastle beat Wolves at home. Liverpool to beat Burnley away. And then the last one, I'm going to say it's tough. I'm going to say Chelsea to beat Brentford as the three bankers. I think Palace, Sunderland, I don't know if that might be a tough one for Palace, I think. West Ham, Spurs, that could be a draw. Everton away, Everton and Aston Villa. I mean, Aston Villa haven't started off well at all, but, Everton have. But Grealish playing against his former club as well. Who knows? Brighton, Bournemouth, I think that's got a draw written all over it. I think Forest and Arsenal might be a draw as well, even though Forest are going away. Obviously, Postecoglou, new manager. I think that could be a draw. Fulham, Leeds, Fulham at home. I think Fulham beat Leeds at home. So that could be one as well. Yeah, as Chris and Mark said, Fulham. Yeah, I think all them games there, I don't think they're all set in stone. I don't think there's one game there that you could say, yep, they're definitely winning. Because if Liverpool were at home against Burnley, I'd fancy them more to win that game. But they're away from home, so you never know what might happen. But I do think they'll win, but I don't think it's an absolute banker. So, yeah, there is ones to watch, really. And then Chris and Mark saying Everton should deal with Villa. I don't know, man. I mean, Everton, Villa haven't started off great. But I think Villa might get a draw there. They might get a draw, so we'll have to wait and see. But guys, listen up. Big up yourselves each and every time for coming through. Guys, make sure you smash that like button if you haven't done so already. And again, if you're new in here, make sure you sub to the channel as well. And obviously check out all the other content, and give some support to the channel. As I said, I got Flawless on tomorrow, guys, at 7:30 evening time. So that's when we're next live. And again, yeah, make sure you guys come through and show your support as well as always. And yeah, it's much appreciated you guys coming on, interacting with the channel and showing that support. So yeah, it's much appreciated. As I said, my voice is still not 100% perfect, but it is getting better. Big up to Broderick. Big up, man. My voice is getting better, but when you're doing a stream, you just notice to yourself that you don't feel 100%. And again, I don't feel 100%. But as I said, man, I told you guys I'll get some content out, and that's what I promised to deliver. But yeah, my voice isn't great, but it is getting back to somewhat being better. But so yeah, as I said, guys, appreciate you guys coming through each and every time. Those of you that have been enjoying the live fitness workouts, there will be a few more coming back. There will be a few more again. Chrism's asking for a watch along. Do you know what? I was going to do a watch along to the Man United City game, but I'm not going to have time because I'm going to be out. I'm going to be watching the Canelo and Crawford fight on Saturday, which is at 4 in the morning. So I'm going to need to get some sleep in one way or another. Yeah, big up Chris and Mark, man. Honey and lemon, man. I'm going to have to get some of that in a minute, to be fair. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not going to do a watch along because I'm going to watch the Crawford and Canelo fight, and then that's at 4 in the morning. So I'm going to have to get some sleep one way or another and then be fresh for this Manchester derby. So, yeah, I'm not going to do a watch along for that one, but I will be doing another one in the future. Don't get me wrong. But as I said, yeah, I'll definitely be watching that game. And it's a massive game, man. Yeah, listen, Man United, Man City's at 4:30. Yeah, it's at 4:30. So I'm not going to have time to do a watch along because I need to try and get some rest in. Yeah, I'll try and get some rest in. Again, if I do change my mind, I'll let you guys know. But as it stands right now, I won't be doing a watch along at the moment because I say I've got a few things to do. But as I said, if I do change my mind, I'll let you guys know. Because as I said, I need to get some rest in, man, because this throat's not doing too great. And as I said, because I'm watching that boxing fight. I need to get my rest in. So, but as I said, yeah, keep an eye on my schedule. If I do change my mind, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, massive game. Looking forward to it. So as I said, yeah, let's hope United can get the win, and you know, let's hope if Ruben Amorim can go in a positive direction. But who knows? Yeah, big up Chris and Mark, man. This is, as I said, bro. If I change my mind, I'll let you guys know. But as it stands at the moment, it's doubtful. But you know, things could change. Hopefully, if my throat gets better, you know, I might consider it, but I don't know. But as I said, guys, big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already. And make sure you sub to the channel if you're new in here as well. And as I said, I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow, 7:30 with Flawless. I'll possibly be back, guys, in the morning again. In actual fact, yeah, I'll be back on 11:30 again. Most probably in the morning. And then back on with Flawless at 7:30 as well. So, yeah. So, couple of streams. I'm not sure yet what stream I'm doing tomorrow morning. Again, this international break is a killer. But, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But, yeah, as I said, big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. And, yeah, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.